I'm running out of places to go. Not that I'm running out of places to go, I'm just running out of ways to go. Because we're going over the same fucking place over and over again. You know, I'm talking to you. Who do you think I'm talking to? What if someone's watching this and they want to know who I'm talking to? I'm talking to God. What the fuck? Fuck them. Listen, I know, I'm just saying, it's just like if I gotta preface that every single time we start one of these. The Derek and Hashem show. There was a reason why we're doing this. I forgot. No, it's just that. No, it's just that I was thinking about which way to go, like which direction to walk. And I'm thinking it's just the same thing every time. Do you know how many times I know you know, but what I'm saying is, you know how many times, it's a rhetorical question. Did you know how many times I've been walking down this way, that way, that way, that way, that way, that way? There's a part of me that feels like I could blindfold myself and just blindly walk, and I'll not make a misstep. I think it's muscle memory at this point. So what's predicating this one? So today is the Malkut. The Malkut of Netzach. Now the music. I thought you had some kind of righteous breakthrough. No, I mean, we're on our way to have one. How do you know? Just because that's what you're telling me. So yesterday was the Yesod of Netzach, the bonding of endurance, which I thought we took a nice spin on that. I like the way that we went with the whole integration. And you know, it's making me think right now about the importance of taking a break and the importance of Shabbat, as a matter of fact. Like, sometimes you gotta step away. You gotta step away from that thing that you're so devoted to. This way you can kinda think about it some more. You're constantly doing and doing and doing and doing and doing. You're not giving yourself a chance to reflect. Not just reflect, but I know 2 months ago when you had me working through that atheist group, for a minute, it was like it was an everyday thing. But those were the guys who actually inspired me to start honoring Shabbat the way that it should be honored. And I noticed that when I took the Sabbath to myself, as much as I wanted to go and interact with those people, that by taking a step back and detaching from it, it was giving me new ideas, new approaches, new perspectives, allowed me to integrate, allowed me to bond. So today, what we were thinking about yesterday was how if the Yesod of Netzach is a call to integrate, then the Malkut of Netzach is to actualize that for which we are integrating. So I'm gonna need your help on this. How do I quantify it? I guess that's a good way of explaining it too. Because I think at this point, it would be my opinion that we should have absolutely no problem in quantifying every single thing that we've been doing. Like where have we been demonstrating endurance? You know, those are just words. What am I thinking? What I'm thinking is take the simple words and expand upon them, extrapolate some actual meaning from it. Because I'm thinking back to we started posterior analytics yesterday. I finished chapter 1, and chapter 1 was really short, but Aristotle was talking about some serious shit. Actualizing. Well, what he said was, that there's two ways of going about information. He said a lot of stuff. In 3 paragraphs. What he was getting into was what he touched upon, because he didn't get. I'm not gonna say he got into it because he only touched on it, but what he touched on was how now that we are masters of syllogism, the syllogistic arts, and we have a basic understanding of induction. We're novices in the art of syllogistic and inductive reasoning. But then we go, well, what do you use all that shit for? And I'm glad you asked that question, because Master Aristotle, he laid down the law. He said that we all take in old information, but by way of syllogistic. I love the way he put it. Hold on, let me see if I can. It's on my phone. Well, I want to say it the way he said it because he said it really cool. I know I don't have to. On. Alright. Can we just do that? Alright, so this is book 1, chapter 1 of Posterior Analytics. So it really helps if you had gone through categories on interpretation and book 1 and 2 of prior analytics, because that lays the foundation for everything that we're talking about here. There's actually an example that Aristotle gives in which he demonstrates a point, but that point leads to I'm sure there's a name for it, but he's making a point, but the point he's making, he's actually demonstrating subtly. So he's telling a story. He's making an analogy, And by way of making the analogy, he's demonstrating the point of the analogy by making the analogy. You want me to read the whole thing? Well, paragraph by paragraph, yeah. All right, so all instruction given or received by way of argument proceeds from pre-existent knowledge. This becomes evident upon a survey of all the species of such instruction. The mathematical sciences and all other speculative disciplines are acquired in this way, and so are the two forms of dialectical reasoning, syllogistic and inductive. For each of these latter, make use of old knowledge to impart new, the syllogism, assuming an audience that accepts its premises, induction exhibiting the universal as implicit in the clearly known particular. Again, the persuasion exerted by rhetorical arguments is in principle the same, since they use either example, a kind of induction, or antinomy, a form of syllogism. So essentially, now it helps. This is what I'm saying. Like this is where it's kind of. This is where I would say it's a necessity to know what a syllogism even is, because if you don't, then you're not going to get it. I wouldn't even say knowing what a syllogism is, but also knowing the elements of the syllogism, because a syllogism is actually the product of a particular mental process that requires several elements that come together, almost like think of it like a math problem, but without numbers. Instead of using integers, we're using concepts. So the syllogism is, how would I put that? Premise A plus premise B equals conclusion C. So premise A is that A belongs to some of B. Premise B is that B does not belong to any C. Conclusion C would be that A does not belong to some C. The reason for that, right? So that's a syllogism. So the reason why A doesn't belong to some B is because A belongs to some B. The reason that A doesn't belong to some C is that A belongs to some B, but B does not belong to all C, which means that there's no aspect or element of B, whatever you want B to be, whatever B represents, whatever it is that A represents belongs to some of B, but not all of it. Some humans can speak English. Not all humans can speak English. But no humans speak dog. So we can make that picture. Some animals speak the English language. Those animals that speak the English language don't speak dog language. Some animals do speak dog language though. So A can't belong to some C because what elements of A belong to B can't belong to C because B does not belong to C at all. So does that mean that some So that kind of leaves the door open that some of A may be able to belong to C, but we don't know. That's not the point, though. We're just laying a basic foundation. So the two premises are composed of three terms, A, B, and C. A is we'll call A the extreme major term, B is the minor term, and then C is going to be the, well, you know what? A is the major term, C is the minor term, B is the middle term. So we're trying to find out the predicable, the relationship between A and C by way of B. So we aren't going to get a conclusive conclusion because of the fact that we know that some of A does not belong to C, but that paves the way for another potential syllogistic conclusion by saying that some of A may belong to C. But we would need further data in order to figure that one out. So that's very basic. So the three terms, A, B, and C, one's the major, one's the minor, one's the middle. We want to determine the relationship between the major and the minor by introducing a middle term that may or may not be predicated on either one of those major and minor terms to one degree or another, or not at all. Now, induction is a little bit different. Now, if you get the Google definition of what induction is, if you get the Google definition for what induction is, it doesn't get this much into detail, but inductive reasoning pretty much follows the same blueprint as syllogistic reasoning, which is why syllogism and induction are both categorized under dialectical reasoning, which up until this point, Aristotle hasn't actually defined dialectical reasoning at all. As a matter of fact, quite the opposite, in that he categorized dialectical reasoning as being under syllogism, not the other way around like he is right here. One of the potential uses for syllogism is what's called dialectical syllogism, which is where you take the principles of one thing, you take the principles of another thing, and then you form another thing. Or rather, you find a happy medium between the two. So basically think of it like what I continually talk about, which is, say you want to take the primary principles of Judaism and the primary principles of Christianity, and then find a happy medium. Where's the middle ground? What is it that unifies the two of them? Right, and that would be Torah. So now we have Torah as the middle term. So all of Judaism belongs to Torah, whilst Torah belongs to some of Christianity. Because if you are not learned in Torah, I'm not saying the New Testament, the Old Testament. I don't like, I get really annoyed when people do that. What do? I study Torah. Oh, so you study the Old Testament. No, I said I study Torah. It's not the same thing. The Old Testament is a Christian book. Torah is it's a Jewish book. It's not even a book. It's what lives inside the books. But we know that the Christian Bible contains some Torah because of the fact that Rabbi Jesus was a rabbi, and he was teaching Torah, and he teaches Torah in the New Testament very blatantly. And if you are learned in the ways of Torah, then you will easily be able to pick up on when and where he is demonstrating his Torah expertise, his expertise in the ways of the Torah, the Torah. So, for instance, there's a really good example where he heals a blind man. I think it's the first blind man he heals. I'm pretty sure that this is in Matthew. But there's a guy that he heals, And he doesn't heal. I know, he doesn't heal them. God heals them. I didn't heal you. Your faith healed you. Your faith in God, not me. So he says to the man, I think it was either he healed him of blind. It's either he was healed of blindness or leprosy. I forgot. But Rabbi Jesus says to the man, all right, now go back to your temple and give the offering that Moses told you to. Now, if you don't study Torah, you're not going to know what the offering is. And I believe it was a sin offering he had to do, which would have involved a goat. By the way, Jesus was also pro-slavery too. That's good to note. So am I, though. So I don't judge him for it. How dare you? What do you mean, how dare me? My Lord, I hear that. What do I hear? I hear someone objecting. All right. All right, so you reject the idea that Rabbi Jesus was pro-slavery, then I would refer to his own words when he said, I am not here to change the law or the prophets. I'm here to fulfill it, which means that not only was he pro-slavery, but he wanted slaves. And again, I hear a voice in my head going, well, he wasn't talking about that kind of slavery. I know. Jewish slave laws are completely different than what the American people did to the African people, what the African people did to the African people, what the Korean people, right? Korea has the longest, I believe I recently found that out, is it Korea or is it, wherever the hell Bobby Lee is, the comedian Bobby Lee? Whatever country his family comes from, or wherever I don't know, man. But whatever the country that is, they have the longest running stretch of slavery in mankind. I think they still have slavery now. So, not that kind of slavery. Hebrew slave laws are a little more conducive and You want me to say that? Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, what the hell do I have to be afraid of? Well, Hebrew slave laws are more relative to what's the word? Employment laws. We actually treat our slaves better than Americans treat their employees. Labor laws. Our slave laws are more favorable to the employee than the labor laws are. They are. They are. That's the best part. I love that. That's one of my favorite parts. That's one of my favorite parts about Hebrew slave laws is that the Hebrew slave laws are more humane. More humane than United States labor laws. And the other fun part about Hebrew slave laws. Well, I say Hebrew slave laws because that's what it says. That's what they're called. It says Hebrew slave laws. And we want me to call it Jewish slave laws. Would that make you feel better? My favorite part about Jewish slave laws is that we're actually encouraged to treat our slaves so good that even when their contract is up, because our slave laws are like by contract, depending on the type of slave, because there's different types of slavery. There's the slaves that you buy, there's the slaves that you conquer, there's the slaves that that their slavery is a form of punishment, but then there's also voluntary slavery. And what we're actually encouraged to do what we're actually encouraged to do is it's to provide an environment for the slave. It's encouraged to provide an environment for the slave where the slave doesn't even want to leave. That's my favorite one, is voluntary slaves are typically bound by a 7-year contract, 6 full years. So the first day one of year 7 is when their contract is up. And push the button. All right, now. What are you doing? This guy's gonna stop. You're gonna stop? You're not gonna stop. So on day 1 of year 7, the slave is free. You're free to go. Now there's 2 ways to look at it, because the initial ruling is expanded on a little bit once we get is expanded on once we get further into Deuteronomy, but we can get into that. So basically when the slave laws, voluntary slave laws, are first introduced in Exodus, it's said that the slave leaves with what he came with. So if he was married with kids when he came in to be under someone else's servitude, he leaves with what he came with, essentially. You came with nothing, you leave with nothing. Now, during those years, the master I may have my slave breed with another slave. I may marry them, they can have kids, and at the end of his tenure, when he goes, he goes. That's the initial ruling. That's the initial way that it's spelled out, right? That even if he is married and we breed him, then the wife and the child, they still belong to me, right? But now later on in Deuteronomy, things change a little bit, because in Exodus it says he leaves with what he came with. He came with nothing, he leaves with nothing. But by the time we revisit this law in Deuteronomy, it's actually commanded to give him he's got to leave with a severance package. And God's very clear. You're very clear about that, saying that you have to take care of him better than you would take care of an employee, because you got better work. You got more out of him than you did a standard employee. So make sure you take care of him. And I will make sure that all of your endeavors are abundant. So there's a little change up in the laws. But that's okay. Because I think that shows that it's more than just whips and chains, and because that's also another point that should be brought up, is that our slave laws are very clear. You are very clear in them. You were once a slave, so do not do to these people what you wouldn't have done to yourself. Because remember, I took you out from your bondage. Now back then, obviously slavery was more prevalent than it is today. We got all those pesky laws. That ban it. But at the same time, my mother said it today. She's like, she's got to work for Mother's Day, and she said, I gotta go be a slave to my job. Yeah. How do you know if you're a slave? It's simple. It's a simple equation. It's another equation that doesn't necessarily require numbers, but if you're only doing what you're doing for the paycheck, you're a slave. I say if you love what you do, then you never work a day in your life. No, that's not true. Slaves love what they do. Sometimes. No, if you're doing what you're doing only for the sake that you're getting paid to do what you do, then you're a slave, whether you like it or not, whether you love it or not. Because realistically, you could do it for free. You don't have to get paid for it. You just do it. But I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend just keep doing what you're doing. Be an employee. Where was I? Yeah, Rabbi Jesus. Yeah, Rabbi Jesus, the slave owner, the pro-slavery, the pro-slave Jew. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't judge him. I would own slaves. I wish I could own some slaves. One of my Malkuth of Netzach, the manifestation of that which we are enduring, what, right? Oh, that's what we were doing. Aristotle, syllogism, inductive reasoning. All right, so we got lost on inductive reasoning. We'll get back to slave laws. Don't worry about it. That we're actually working on. We're coming full circle. But just to kind of tie everything together with a nice, pretty bow. Because what's inductive reasoning? Inductive reasoning is when, just like Aristotle said, it's when one is attempting to prove that the universal is indicative of the particular. So, in other words, I was going back before, I said that the Google definition of what inductive reasoning is does not necessarily paint the proper picture of the inductive process, the inductive reasoning process, which is predicated on the same elements of syllogism, although you're not reaching the same conclusion, nor are you using the same means in which to come to the conclusion that you're trying to reach. So, like I said, with syllogism, we're trying to determine the predicated relationship. We're trying to, if there is any degree of predication between the major and minor term by introducing a middle term. Inductive reasoning is where we're trying to prove the relationship between the major term and the middle term, because the middle term, we're trying to prove the relationship between the major term, the universal term, and the middle term, which is the attribute by way of the particular term. So, inductive reasoning is, if Jesus, a Jew, is a container for the attributes of one who is pro-slavery, being that he is a Torah scholar and himself said, I'm not here to change the law, I'm here to fulfill it, right? We can then deduce, and I'm a Jew, by the way, so I just want to make that clear. I don't want to say that I'm pointing the fingers at my brothers and sisters and I'm not taking my own medicine, but this is the way. So inductive reasoning is, and essentially all that I said, we're trying to prove the relationship between the major term, the universal term, the universal to the middle term, the attribute, the feature, by way of the particular term. So let's say that the major term, the universal term, is the Jewish collective. The particular term would be a particular Jew. The middle term that we are trying to prove the relationship between would be relative to, correspond to, associated with being pro-slavery, pro-Hebrew slave laws. So inductive reasoning, we're trying to prove that the collective shares all of this attribute, or at least shares and this particular attribute that this particular member of that collective contains, which is how it's supposed to be, at least in terms of Torah and Jews and Jesus. Because anything he can do, we can do at the same time. I don't want to say better, because had Jesus been alive today with the technology that we had today, he would be able to do the same exact things that I'm doing. So I can't say that I do it better than him. I just have more resources at my disposal than he did. So that's inductive and syllogistic reasoning. So you can't assume that any Jew that says that they're against slavery, technically if they're not following Torah, if they say that. I mean, no, not really, I suppose. My Lord, how do I explain that? Just because there are laws that say that we, the Jewish people, have the God-given right to own slaves, and no government can get in our way about that, which is true, doesn't mean that you have to like it. That doesn't mean that you have to support it. But I mean, there you go. How about that? We'll change our inductive. We'll change our inductive. What's so funny? What's so funny is what I just said, and how that makes a much better inductive case than the original one I was considering, which was all slaves love slavery. But that's not necessarily true. What is true is that what's true for one Jew is true for all Jews, and what's true for one Jew is that we have the God-given right to own slaves if we want to, and nobody can get in our way with that. And that is how we would want to use inductive reasoning. We choose not to do it. How about that? But we don't have to follow that law, because that law that prohibits slavery is actually you're asking us to violate Torah. So realistically, I can have a slave and then give you the finger, give the government the finger, any government the finger, and say, fuck you. This is between me and God. And God gave me the right to own a slave, and God damn it, I'm gonna have my ass a slave, or 2, or 3, or 4. I might just start a slave colony just because it's my God-given right to do so. My Lord, please put me on the path. Please put me on the path so I could be the first slave owner in the United States. And thank you. And a great example of that is how there is overlap between Torah and the United States Constitution, in the sense that the 13th Amendment prohibits involuntary slavery, right? Forced slavery. Like, I can't force you to be my slave. But what it does allow is slavery to be used as a form of punishment. Now, it doesn't necessarily define what kind of crimes would predicate one having the option to serve jail time or be a slave. But like I said, if we go back to Torah slave laws, Jewish slave laws, we can own slaves that are criminals. And again, we do have a blueprint of how slaves are to be treated. And again, it's a contractual thing. So, but my job as a slave owner would be to, like I said before, create an environment for my slaves for that they would want to stay. Because after 6 years, every slave is given the option. Are you sure you want to leave? You can go. You're free. But if you want to stay, it's a life sentence. as in the option to leave is gone. It's off the table forever, for the rest of your life. And you become my property. And I will hand you down to my children. Well, I never really thought about it that way. Yeah, I mean, it's not we aren't kidnapping people, we aren't forcing people to do anything they don't want to do. You like slavery now because I said Jesus was a pro-slavery advocate. Well, I mean, you know, let me... I said Jesus, I didn't say Christian or Catholic. I know Catholics, they believe that Jesus' death is considered the fulfillment of the old covenant, which isn't necessarily the case. And I know this because I follow Torah law. I live Torah. And my Lord rewards me greatly, handsomely, because I obey his laws. You know, and I think that whole idea that Jesus giving up his life was the fulfillment of the old covenant, but that's not necessarily the definitive interpretation of what he was saying, because they're taking that from, I'm not here to change the law, I'm here to fulfill it. Right, it's every Jew's duty to fulfill the law. That's the point, right? So he wasn't special in that, I'm going to fulfill it, it's going to be done. No, that's not what we mean. It's not what we mean. What we mean to say is, I'm doing my duty as a Jew because nobody else is doing it. Because at that point in Jewish history, it was a shit show. So rather than be like all the other Jews, and I'm not saying that it was all his idea. You guided him that way. To follow the way. Stop following man and follow God. If you need help doing it, follow me. Because I'm doing what needs to be done. I'm doing it the way it needs to be done. And your leaders aren't showing you the right way. Which is where the whole pick up your cross and follow me, because no one's going to like what you're doing because you're going against the establishment. At the end of the day, it's a Jew thing, but the Jew thing is designed to spread out. It's not like, this is ours, you can't have it. No, it's not like that, but you got to do it the right way. It's got to be done in a very specific way. And I believe that the reason that God allowed the church to survive for as long as it has is because of the fact that they at least put the effort in. Not that everybody's great at it. Not that there isn't, not that there isn't, how you doing, my friend? Not that there isn't an overabundance of hypocrites and fakers, but really? That's the second one. I can't believe I'm doing this. It's so gross. Did you just pick up a cigarette? Yep. It's a Newport. I love Newports. Thank you, Sheb. So, it's fucking brand new. Filter's not even all that bad. So, what are we at? 44 minutes? How does this have to do with... Well, this is more of a four-dimensional concept. Thank you. Because again, I'm coming back to Aristotle. The Rabbi Jacobson calls it the dignity of endurance. But I wanna make this my own. Because that's kind of the point. What do I want my function to be? Oh my God, my Lord, I want to say it so bad. Can I say it? Make Christianity Jewish again. That's what I want to do. What is it that you're doing with your life? I'm trying to make Christianity Jewish again. Take my brother off the cross. And bring the lost sheep of Israel back home. So the dignity of endurance, to embody a sense of pride and dignity for what it is that you are, for the cause for which you are so committed and dedicated to bringing into manifestation. So Malkut represents the idea, it means kingdom. So what it means, it's basically talking, it represents the physical world. Netzach is endurance, represents the concept, the ideas that represent the word, that the word represents, endurance. So what are we putting our time and our energy into to bring into manifestation into this world? One of those things being taking Christianity back for the Jews. I'm not talking about Messianic Judaism. That's a whole other thing. That's none of my business. I'm not talking about Jews for Jesus. That's a whole other fucking thing. To be perfectly honest, I'm not a big fan. I'm starting to, the word Messiah, I don't even care for that word anymore. Jesus was a prophet, just like Moses, just like Joseph, son of Jacob. He was one of the great figures in Jewish history who did some serious shit for the sake of God's glorification, not his own. And we know that to be true because when we open up the New Testament, he continually says, don't give me credit. I didn't do this for you, God did. There's just a little misinterpretations here and there, but we can get through that. I see it. The fact that I can see it, the fact that I can see through all that, that's a good sign. Yeah, you're gonna have to unlearn everything that you once learned. Just like Yoda said to Luke, you have to unlearn what you've learned because everything that you have learned is shit. Throw it away. Well, it's not that I know better. It's not that I know better. God knows better than me. I'm just doing what God's telling me to do. And I'm fulfilling my end of the bargain by doing it like this because I'm not holding a gun to anyone's head to fucking watch this thing. You watch it. But in the old days, the prophets had to like go from town to town to town, tell everybody, you're doing it wrong. This is how you have to do things. You're fucking it up for everybody else. Nobody wants to hear that. But luckily, with the technology that we have today, I can do that. I can say, you're a fucking idiot. What are you doing? You're doing it all wrong. Who the hell is your teacher? Let me talk to your teacher. Or you can go back and tell your teacher that I told you that to tell him that I said that you're doing it the wrong way. See, and the nice thing about doing it like this, too, is I don't have to worry about the angry mobs coming after me with the fucking pitchforks and crucify him! Crucify him! Get out of here. But now going back to what we were talking about earlier. We're taking syllogism and inductive reasoning, and we're taking old information and we're making it new again. We're literally turning water into wine. We're taking your bland ass, flavorless, though slightly refreshing teachings and adding a little kick to them, a little bite. I know it's gonna bite you in the ass, your ego right in the ass. And it's like, I'm thinking of Pulp Fiction, where Marsalis says to Butch, because Butch, he knew Bruce Willis, he didn't want to lose the fight. He didn't want to throw the fight. And Marsalis says to him, hey man, that's pride stinging you in the ass. I know, you don't want to be wrong, but it's not hard. Watch, I'm wrong. You're right. I'm the one that's wrong. God, I'm wrong. Everybody else is more right than me. That's why I'm the one having the conversation with you. What should be happening is, if I was doing it the right way, I would put somebody in between you and I. Someone who knows better than me. Or no. Or is that not the way? God tells me that's not the way. The way I'm doing it is better than everybody else. But I've also been living in a cave for the past 7 years. Continuing. The pre-existent knowledge required is of two kinds. In some cases, admission of the facts must be assumed. In others, comprehension of the meaning of the term used. And sometimes both assumptions are essential, meaning that you just have to assume that it's right and at the same time be able to comprehend what it is that's actually being expressed in terms of instruction. So I wanted to finish this part's a little bit long, but there's a good point to this, because that's being able to comprehend something. This is what Moses was saying at the end of Deuteronomy when he said, now Jesus only said that for those with eyes to see and ears to hear, but he left out a crucial piece of the puzzle, which was something that Moses had said at the end of Deuteronomy when he said eyes to see, ears to hear, and a mind to understand. Or we can translate that to mean a mind to comprehend. Because if you can't comprehend what it is that you're seeing and what you're hearing, then it doesn't matter what you're seeing and what you hear, because you're not going to understand it. So let's continue. Thus, we assume that every predicate can be either truly affirmed or truly denied of any subject, and that, quote, triangle means so-and-so. As regards, quote, unit, we have to make the double assumption of the meaning of the word and the existence of the thing. The reason is that these several objects are not equally obvious to us. Recognition of a truth may, in some cases, contain as factors both previous knowledge and also knowledge acquired simultaneously with the recognition knowledge. This latter of the particulars actually falling under the universal and therein already virtually known. In other words, you're taking in knowledge, but then you also have pre-existing knowledge that you know. So, and well, it's actually going to get more into this. For example, the student knew beforehand that the angles of every triangle are equal to 2 right angles. So, just for any of those people who aren't skilled in math, when you see 2 right angles, it makes me think of a triangle, of a square, because a square is composed of 4 right angles, right? Or, I'm sorry, 2 right angles. A square has 4 angles. A quadrilateral, it has 2 right angles. No, I'm sorry, 4. Yeah. 4 right angles. So then how the hell do you get 2 right angles out of a triangle? Yeah. So, we're saying right angle, but what we're saying is, well, I mean, you can get two right angles out of a triangle. It's very easy, but it's not obvious. So what we need to do is recognize that the angles of a triangle are equal to two right angles. One right angle is equal to 90 degrees, so two right angles is equal to 180 degrees. Every triangle is equal to 180 degrees. So that's what that means. But if you really need to if you really need to have it illustrated for you, if you take any triangle, isosceles, scalene, or equilateral, there's one point in that triangle where if you draw a straight line, you can draw a straight line to one of the sides, and it'll form a right angle, but it's two right angles. So you can split, any triangle can be split in half so that there's two right angles. Every triangle. Sometimes you have to like turn it around. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're doing it from the base, from the apex to the base, because sometimes the triangle's a little vercocked. So sometimes you might have to take one of the angles from the base and then draw a straight line, but that can be done all the time. There's no exceptions to the rule there. Where were we? So, for example, the student knew beforehand that the angles of every triangle are equal to two right angles, but it was only at the actual moment at which he was being led on to recognize this as true in the instance before him that he came to know, quote, this figure inscribed with a semicircle, end quote, to be a triangle. For some things, parenthesis, the singulars finally reached are not predicable of anything else as subject. So basically saying that, how do we say it? So basically the picture we were just painting is this student had previous knowledge of what a triangle is and how to recognize a triangle. His teacher brought him to what would be called a semicircle and showed him this image that had a triangle inscribed within it. So he already knew what that thing was without being told, because of his pre-existing knowledge of how triangles function. So whether he knew that whether he was led to that semicircle with the triangle inscribed in it or not, he knew that was a triangle before he even saw it. He didn't necessarily know that it was there, but he knew what that thing was before he saw it. So singulars finally reached which are not predicable of any other subject, which means that it wasn't necessarily the intention of the teacher to demonstrate the triangle to the student as much as it was to demonstrate the semicircle, but because the semicircle was there, or because the triangle was inscribed in the semicircle that he was being taught about, he was able to recognize the triangle that was inscribed within it. So there wasn't any premeditation behind that. So for some things are only learnt in this way, i.e., there is here no recognition through a middle of a minor term as subject to a major. Now, if we dial back this video to the very beginning, when we first started talking about posterior analytics, what I said was there comes a point where Aristotle's giving an example of something, but by way of giving the example, he's actually demonstrating the example in the first place. So what he was just talking about with the student who was led to see the semicircle that had the triangle inscripted on it, he had pre-existing knowledge of the triangle, so that when he was shown the semicircle, he understood that there was a triangle that was inscribed in it. Now, this just happened right here. You wouldn't have known that unless you knew the breakdown of the elements of a syllogism. right? So there is here no recognition through a middle of minor term as a subject to the major. What Aristotle just did right there was he laid out the blueprints for a syllogistic conclusion by showing how a syllogistic conclusion was not formed. He in himself did not form a syllogistic conclusion by demonstrating the elements of syllogism. And if you did not know that, so let's say that syllogism right there, what he just said, the recognition, there was no recognition of a middle of a minor term as a subject to a major. If you didn't know that those were the elements of a syllogism, then you would have missed it. So try to imagine that that was a triangle. But because I know what a triangle looks like, hey man, how you doing? Hey, good. Thanks. Because of the fact that I'm learned in the ways of the art of triangles, I was able to pick up the triangle inscribed in this semicircle. I got a feeling that just went over your head, but don't worry about it. I know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Hisham. Before he was led on to recognition, or before he actually drew a conclusion, we should perhaps say that in a manner he knew, in a manner not. So this is what I was just saying, is that the triangle was there whether he saw it or not. It just happened to be the only reason that he was capable of recognizing it was because of the fact that he had the pre-existing knowledge of the triangle. Just like right here, where we're demonstrating that there was no middle term used to connect the major and minor terms. Therefore, a syllogistic conclusion wasn't reached, although a conclusion was in fact reached because of the fact that there was the pre-existing knowledge. Oh. How do I like that? I don't know. I feel like this should be confusing, but it's not. I love how not confusing this is. Because listening to myself talk about it, in my head I see a classroom in front of me. And all of my students that are in front of me, I see their heads like boiling and steaming because they can't wrap their heads around what the fuck I just said. But at the same time, I know exactly what I'm talking about, which is good. That's good. That's really good. And going back to the Malkut of Netzach, the manifestation of that which we have been committed to for so long, I think this is a really great example of just how far I've come for my own sake. Because if we dial back the clocks to 2018, what does it say, May 11th? So go back to May 11th, 2018. I wouldn't have been able to do this. I wouldn't be able to understand what the hell I'm talking about. You showed these videos to myself back then. What? Huh? Or maybe not. Maybe. I mean, it's not impossible that maybe had Derek from 2018 read this or watched this, that perhaps he was just that inclined. But I feel as though the only reason that we're even capable of apprehending what it is that we're apprehending at this particular moment is because of the fact that we have endured and went through so much, and because of all of that which we have let go of and taken in by way of the events of the past 7 years, that now that we're doing this, we find ourselves more capable of being able to not just assume the truthful nature of it, but also... How you doing, my love? How are you?
Happy Mother's Day to your mom.
Huh?
Happy Mother's Day to your mom.
Okay, I will. I'll tell her.
And thank you again for the day you give me the container spaghetti.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
You come today at 4 p.m. for the grocery?
Yeah, I was going to. My mom has to work, so she asked me if I can go for her. Normally I wouldn't, but I asked God for the perfect Mother's Day gift I can give to her, and so I'm gonna go to church for her.
Oh yeah, this morning at 8 I attend to the mass, and after that Father Anthony let us know about the 4 p.m. today, and I could love you.
Yeah.
So also it's beautiful, huh? And today he have the beautiful bread.
Oh yeah, it was really nice.
He's everything he say is so touch my heart. Yeah, today.
Yeah, you know, my mother told me that he needed help with the garden pulling weeds, so I went over to see if he needed help today.
Wow.
But it was in the middle of a mass, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
So I just went into the mass, and I caught him in the middle of his homily, and it was really good.
Very nice. You know, I'm crying.
Yeah.
I'm right away. I'm crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but my tear is about happy because it's just grateful because we have the bridge. We have so many bridges in the world. And now the way he talks to like he encourage so like the children, young people. Yeah.
Yeah. The hard part is getting them to understand the commitment that it takes,
Yeah.
though. So, but
Today is so amazing.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I thought about going down that path for a time, but I went down the rabbi road.
Oh, so thank you again because I won't forget. Remember your face so clearly because I'm so grateful for everyone I meet in my life. Like somebody they help me, give me something, or whatever. That's why I'm still remember you.
Oh, I'm glad.
And thank you so much. The container the box spaghetti.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it's my pleasure also. And I'm so happy to be there on that day.
Me
with
too.
you and with everyone.
Me too.
I'm so grateful. Oh, thank you again.
You're very welcome, my love.
You had a beautiful day.
You too, and maybe I'll see you later.
Oh, see you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Again, thank you, Hashem. Because you know, that's why I had a feeling this was going to happen too. Because I was saying before, when we were leaving the church and we were on the way home, I said, why did you make me go to church today? Because I really didn't want I wasn't planning on it. Although, when I heard the homily that I was telling her about, because he gave the same homily to the ones that she went to. And it was about encouraging those people who have a calling to God, a calling to serve God, and for people not to get in their way and just to allow them to do their thing. And now, mind you, Father Anthony's coming from a Catholic perspective. My family's very well aware of my Jewishness, so it's like, I was talking to my mother about this morning, and yeah, I did notice. I remember that. No, he was just reminding me. He's like, because when I was talking to her and she was explaining the homily to me, she said she felt as though he was staring right at her while he was talking, because of the fact that, because of what I do. And she said that a couple of her neighbors, they were at church too, and they were asking about what I do. And she was explaining to them that he's studying to be a rabbi. She's not comfortable yet. I told her the other day, I said, because I reintroduced myself to a couple of the priests and told them, rabbi. And so I told my mother, I said, rabbi. I went to the same rabbi school that Rabbi Jesus did. But that lady, a few weeks back, 2 months ago from next week, I was helping the church out. I was volunteering some time, and we were doing this pasta dinner. So when we were cleaning up, she, I forgot to say Happy Mother's Day. But when we were cleaning up, we were giving out some of the leftovers to the volunteers. So I made sure to give her a nice big container. She loved that container. That's the second time I see her here. But that was another thing too. Even when we went to the Mass this morning, which I didn't intend on going to the Mass, but I'm glad I did because I walked in during the part of the homily that I felt was geared towards me and is at the same time relative to the work of Rabbi Jesus because of the point that Father Anthony was making, which was men today are pussies. They're absolute fucking pussies. They roll over like little puppy dogs. And that's one of the foundational principles of what Rabbi Jesus was doing. I ain't rolling over for fucking nobody. I ain't rolling over for the establishment. I ain't rolling over for those people who think that they're above me because they went to school for longer than I did. Hey, listen, you know what? I got a premier education in my room because of the fact, my room's a yeshiva, because of the fact that I am all day, every day studying this shit. I ain't saying that nobody else isn't, but like you and I have talked, and just from my own observations, a lot of these rabbis who call themselves rabbis, they could definitely use a little bit of guidance, especially when it comes to matters of Torah, because my way of Torah is clearly not their way of Torah, but my way of Torah just happens to be the same way of Torah that Rabbi Jesus was walking. So, but for me, it's more intuitive. Like it's not like I have to like cram all this information, and we're about to get into this too. That's what this next portion of Aristotle is going to be all about, because that's ultimately what's coming in. Is that it gets into it at the very end, but we're kind of building up to that right now. Because what happens when you learn Aristotle, his method of writing is unique in the sense that every sentence, every paragraph is actually building up to what's about to come. So there are times where he'll bring up concepts and ideas that I get confused and I go, well, I don't understand. I don't know what he's talking about. But I mean, granted, by this point, I've been working with the man for over a year, almost on a daily basis. So I've become more sensitive to his ways in the sense that I know that when I feel confused about something, if I feel like I'm not getting it, right? It's only because I'm trying to get it before he lays it all out. So he may put down this big ass concept in chapter 1, and it's confusing as hell. But it's in chapter 2 and chapter 3 where he actually fills in the gaps. So Aristotle is one of those dudes where it's really easy to you want to give up because it's like, what the fuck's he talking about? But if you just hold on just a little bit longer and trust, and that's a big part of it too. Thank you, Hashem. Is that learning Aristotle? That is where Aristotle is a great teacher in Torah without even realizing it, because one of the primary principles of Torah is trust. Trust that everything is going to work out exactly the way that it needs to work out for you. So when we go to Aristotle and we come up to this confusing shit like this, you just gotta trust. Like, okay, I don't get it right this second, but I can see there's a point in the future, in the very near future, where this makes so much sense that I'll be able to teach it myself. All right, so this is the last portion. This is a little bit long, but this is where everything kind of comes together. If he did not, in an unqualified sense of the term, know the existence of this triangle, how could he know without qualification that its angles were equal to two right angles? Okay? So basically, we're asking the question, if the student didn't know, how did he know? But, here we go. No. Clearly he knows not without qualification, but only in the sense that he knows universally. So he knows the universal concept of what a triangle is, although he was ignorant to the pre-existence of this particular triangle. Do you understand? Like, I understand the basic premise of Jews, but I wasn't expecting a Jew like you, because a Jew like you, I didn't know you existed. Yes, Jews like me exist. I might be the only one, for all I know. I don't know, but here I am. Right, because the common definition of a Jew is a guy wearing a funny hat with the curly hair, last name's Goldberg, got the nose, got the wife with the wig and the suits, and constantly doing the back and forth thing, which is an inherited thing. So that's not a weird thing. That's normal. If this distinction is not drawn, okay. Clearly he knows not without qualification, but only in the sense that he knows universally. If this distinction is not drawn, we are faced with a dilemma in the Meno. Either a man will learn nothing or what he already knows, for we cannot accept the solution which some people offer. So now, before we move any further, the Meno, what's the Meno? So the Meno is a book written by Plato. So if you hadn't read the Meno, then you won't know what the Meno is. I haven't read the Meno, but I have read Phaedrus and Phaedrus. I'm saying Phaedrus and Phaedrus because I get the two of them confused, because one of those dialogues, they're both books by Plato. One of them, the scene taking place in the one is on the night that Aristotle, or the night that Socrates is executed. Whichever one that is. The concept that he's talking about here, the problem that we face in Meno, is similar in concept to what Socrates was explaining to his students on the night of his execution, which is expanded on in either Phaedrus or Phaedrus, one of the two. My job isn't to memorize and parrot things. My job's just to understand, to comprehend. Oh, I want to redo that song because I love that song. Hold on. Come on, man. Okay, so the initial reaction would be, how did he know without qualifications that was a triangle, that shape that he saw was equal to two right angles? Well, that's the wrong way to look at it. The right way to look at it would be, and that's the point. No, it's not that clearly he knows not without qualification. He knows it with qualification, which is how he knew it. But we're actually going to get into that. That idea that was just presented. How did he know without actually knowing? That doesn't make any sense. Well, Socrates actually explains that, or we say Plato explains. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Do we give Socrates the credit for saying the things that he says, or do we give Plato the credit for what Socrates says? I don't know. I trend to give Socrates the credit for what Socrates says, although Aristotle is starting to show me that might not be the right way to do it. All I know is I'm giving somebody the credit. Somebody's getting the fucking credit. So, in Phaedrus or Phaedrus, whichever one it is, before his departure from the physical world, Socrates explains how when a soul is born into a body, encoded within that soul is all of the knowledge that it needs to get through its life. So as the individual, as the human, the container of that soul grows, they aren't necessarily learning anything new because everything that they're learning already exists within their soul already knows these things. Oh my God, what's with all the fucking spider web things? Stop coming back here. I'm getting fucking more ticks. I don't like this. So, and that's the Minos quote problem, is where I think, I haven't read Minos like I said, but also like I said, Socrates does explain pretty clearly that the individual soul is already equipped with all of the knowledge that it needs, and that the journey, our life path, whatever life path that we're on, is going to lead us to all of the things that we need in order to awaken those memories, awaken that latent knowledge within us, so that we can do what it is that we came to do. Simple. Like right now. A man is asked, do you or do you not know that every pair is even? As in a pair, two things. He says he does know it. The questioner then produces a particular pair of the existence, and so a fortiori of evenness, of which he was not aware. So, essentially, the questioner asked the man, are you aware that every pair is even? Represents an even number. And the man says, yes. So then the questioner says, how about this? And he presents the man with an example, a particular example of a pair that he was not aware of. So let's just say, I just said it before, a pair is two, right? But that's not what was said. Are you aware that every pair is even? So let's say the man he's thinking in his head what I just thought in my head. Yeah, of course, a pair of things. That's two things. So the questioner then brings out four things. 2 white men, 2 black men. And says, how about this pair? Whoa, I didn't know about that. It's actually 2 pairs. It's a pair in a pair. It's a pair of black guys and a pair of white guys. They represent a pair, they represent a pair, and collectively they represent a pair. Whoa, you just fucking blew my mind there, guy. Yeah. Well, now check this out. How about I bring out 4 black guys, 4 white guys. I separate them into 2 groups of 2, or 4 groups of 2. So now you have 2 pairs. You have a pair of black guys. You got a pair of white guys. You got a pair of a pair. Because now, not only do we have a pair of black guys, a pair of black guys, a pair of white guys, a pair of white guys, but we have a pair of guys, a pair of guys, a pair of guys, a pair of guys. Then we have a pair of 4 guys, a pair of 4 black guys, a pair of guys. Half of them are white, half of them are black. We got lots of pairs within pairs within pairs. I'm being reminded of Dune, the first Dune book, when the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen says to his nephew, Feyd-Rautha, plans within plans within plans. We got pairs within pairs within pairs. We got pairs that you didn't even fucking know were pairs. Alright, so, brings about a pair that he wasn't familiar with. Okay? The solution that reminds me, Hashem, I wanted to do this with Torah, but we can do that another time. The solution which some people offer is to assert that they do not know that every pair is even, but only that everything which they know to be a pair is even. Yet what they know to be even is that of which they have demonstrated evenness, i.e., what they made the subject of their premise, vis-a-vis, not merely every triangle or number which they know to be such, but any and every number or triangle without reservation. For no premise is ever couched in the form every number which you know to be such, or, quote, every rectilinear figure which you know to be such. The predicate is always construed as applicable to any and every instance of the thing. Easy. How do you explain that? Well, what he's saying is, how would I put it? Hashem, how would I put it? I know what I know, but I know that I don't know what I don't know. So there may be pairs that are even, which I don't know about. So it's not impossible. What he's saying is the wrong solution is to claim ignorance and say, well, I only know about what I know about. I don't know about what I don't know about. I believe so. I believe that. Why? Do you know something different? Is there a pair? Is there an even pair that I'm not aware of? Can you show me that? Right? I guess so. I mean, that's how I'm seeing it. I mean, I get what he's saying. Like, conceptually, like, yeah. I mean, I don't see an instance where somebody, hey, man, do you know that all triangles are 180 degrees? I don't know about that. I don't know. The only triangles that I know that are 180 degrees are the triangles that I know of. And I only know of a couple triangles. You feel me? So I don't want to answer for shit that I don't know about. So, yeah, I can see that. And he's saying that's the wrong answer. So this is actually inductive reasoning right here. We're getting an example of inductive reasoning. Because by knowing the one, you know the all. All right. Okay. I can feel that. He's actually, this is another thing I love about Aristotle too, is he demonstrates what he's talking about without explaining that he's demonstrating what he's talking about. We were just talking about dialectical reasoning and how syllogism and induction are the two forms of dialectical reasoning. And meanwhile, he's now demonstrating the value of inductive reasoning by way of showing how it can be useful for what we're calling the pre-existing knowledge, where for someone will know something before they actually know something. For no premise is couch, we got there. On the other hand, I imagine there is nothing to prevent a man, in one sense, knowing what he is learning, in another, not knowing it. The strange thing would be, not if in some sense he knew what he was learning, but if he were to know it in that precise sense and manner in which he was learning it. To know something exactly the way that it's being taught before he was taught that it was even a thing. So the only example I can give of that is from my own personal experience when it came to when I started learning about bitahon. When I started learning about bitahon, and even, I'd even go Torah as well. I had no idea that I was already studying, practicing, and teaching Torah before I was even studying, practicing, and teaching Torah. Before I even read Torah. Because once I started reading Torah and I started to recognize how you interact with the prophets and the patriarchs, that's when I started went, holy shit, this is how you and me connect. So I'm already doing it. I've been doing it my entire life without even realizing that I was doing it. And the same thing with bitahon. Because the reason that we even were on the path to know what bitahon is bitahon means, it's Hebrew, it means trust. It represents the trust that's developed between the individual Jew and God. And I guess, I suppose non-Jews can have it too. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, I could see that. It comes in many levels. There's different degrees and ranks and grades of bitahon. There's 10 at the very least. there's 10 ranks of bitahon. So, based on the description of each of the 10 ranks, I resonated with all 10. But that's because you and I were already building that relationship prior to me learning about bitahon, which is why you put me on the path to learn about bitahon, because that was the one thing I couldn't understand. So throughout my life, there have been instances where this mysterious, silent voice speaks inside my mind and it says, trust me. Just trust me on this. Everything's gonna work out great. You can't see it yet. And I trend, although I may not talk about it out loud to other people, I just go with it. I go with the flow just to see what happens. And it always turns out that the voice is always right. So the most recent example of that, well, I mean, I said that you taught me bitahon. The instance coming to my mind is right after I quit Hugo Boss. And I was running out of money within 3 weeks. And I was panicking because it was Michael's wedding coming up. I didn't have any money to give my mother. And I was kind of like in a really shitty spot. I have this all written down too. And I remember I was writing and I wrote, God, like I'm seriously, like I'm bugging out right now because I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm running out of money. I got this wedding. I can't even afford shoes. I can't do nothing. Like, what's going on? And then I started to channel the response, which was, I understand. Just trust me. And it says, trust me. Everything is going to work out better than you realize. The sign that you want, because I asked for a tangible sign, something that I could show to somebody in the future. Something that I can hold on to and know that this really did happen. Some kind of sign that things are going to work out. And that writing was what it was. And it said, the sign that you're looking for is on its way to you as you write this now. There's going to come a day in the future where you look back on this moment and you're going to be able to see exactly why things had to work out exactly the way that they did. And 3 days later is when Frank called me to see if I would help out with covering the Lancaster store for up to 3 weeks, and that ended up taking 4 months. But in those 4 months, I was able to fix the entire store to such a degree that it was able to stay functioning for another year before it got shut down. Because of the work that I did there, I was asked to help out the company again a few months later, but only for about a week, which turned into 2 weeks. But because of what happened on that second trip, I lost my shit, and I said, I ain't taking this shit no more. I ain't letting fucking corporate people fucking walk on me like I'm a fucking dog. I'm gonna fucking give it to these people hard, and I'm gonna give it to them deep. And for the next 4 months, I was in a little bit of a legal battle with Hugo Boss where I represented myself. It eventually came down where they had to involve their lawyer, and I gave their lawyer the fucking business. And at the end of those 4 months, I got all the money that was owed to me. Well, not all the money that was owed to me. I got most of the money that was owed to me because the lawyer, under the advisement of the corporation, was ignoring certain things, probably because he was from a different state, and that wasn't his problem. But for the particular case that we had done, that was me winning my first legal case out of court. Thank you, Hashem, because it was through Moses. Moses was guiding me, and you were guiding me through Moses. Take Moses' example for when he went to Pharaoh. Look at this fucking place like they're Pharaoh. Look at David. Look what David did to Goliath. This is your Moses and Goliath combined into one. You are going to be my Moses and my David, and you're going to fuck these people up. And I did. I fucked them up hard, and I felt good. But it was right towards the end of that legal battle where I found Yael Trush on YouTube, and she had a workshop, a 19-hour workshop called Developing Trust. And in that, beautiful Orthodox woman, beautiful Orthodox Jewish woman. And her workshop, Developing Trust, was working through an Hasidic work called Shar HaBitahon, the Gate of Trust. And in that book, Rabbi Bakyu, son of Bakuda, he was laying down the parameters of bitahon. Basically an instruction manual on how to develop trust in God, despite external circumstances, and how to recognize specific external circumstances as acts of God that are putting you on the path that you need to go in order to get to this particular thing that you know is there. Foregoing all of your rational thinking and allowing irrational thinking to take over, which is what bitahon is, because you're placing your trust in an invisible force that you can't see, touch, hear, smell, or taste, but you know it's there. It tells you that it's there. It shows you that it's there, but you have to overcome the "it's too good to be true" factor, which is incredibly difficult, but not impossible, which is the purpose of developing trust. So we develop trust by taking leaps of faith. Taking leaps of faith that we know we're gonna fall on our ass, but trusting that there is the potential that God's gonna catch us. Which goes back to what Rabbi Jesus was saying about having enough faith the size of a mustard seed. That little tiny bit, just having that little bit of faith will save your ass in the end, in the long run. But as we take more and more leaps of faith, that mustard seed of faith actually expands into a big ass tree that little birdies come and perch on. That's a reference that if you read the gospel, you know what I'm talking about. But I remember that on that first class where she was explaining what bitahon is, I knew exactly what she was talking about in the exact way that Aristotle just laid out. And there would have been no way that I could have learned bitahon prior, because I never even knew that there was a word for it. Although, when I was having those experiences where the voice would always say trust, because I believe that it is written down more than once. Like, what is this? Where is this coming from? Obviously it's God, but like, what does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? Obviously, my future self, I always used to attribute it to my future self. But then I started to attribute my future self to being God. So when we finally got to learning what bitahon is, I had no problem grasping what was being laid down, because I already knew everything. I shouldn't have known everything. There was no reason for me to know it, but I knew it. Just through personal experience. And that's what Aristotle's talking right there. But Aristotle, as we know, is not a Jew, so there's no reason for him to take into consider bitahon, because there's no reason for him to know bitahon, because, again, I keep on forgetting. Because the Hellenists, the Greeks, they weren't trained in the ways of the Jew. So there's no reason for him to have known these things. But as we go through Aristotle's books, we have noticed that there's elements where he almost gets into Jewish thought, but he can't. It's like he hits an invisible wall. But knowing Jewish thought as well as I do, being a Jew, I can fill in the gaps that he wasn't capable of filling in on his own. So now going back to what we were saying about dialectical reasoning and dialectical syllogism, taking the primary principles of one thing, taking the primary principles of another thing, and then finding that middle ground. And it just happens to be that the middle ground between Torah and the teachings of Aristotle is me. Because I have the personal experience with both, that I can fill in the gaps where the gaps technically shouldn't be able to be filled in. The Malkuth of Netzach, the dignity of endurance. Let me see if I can pull that up. Right here. Sorry, Q-tip. So this is what Rabbi Jacobson wrote about the Malkut of Nizak. Sovereignty is the cornerstone of endurance. Endurance that encompasses the previous 6 qualities is indeed a tribute and testimony to the majesty of the human spirit. So, see, he's equating dignity, a regal sense of dignity, to this quality of endurance. Malkut, like I said, means kingdom, so that's where the regal aspect comes to mind. We have self-inquiry questions. Is my endurance dignified? Does it bring out the best in me? When faced with hardships, do I behave like a king or queen, walking proudly with my head up, confident in my God-given strengths, or do I cower and shrivel up in fear? Oh man, I feel like I should give that to Father Anthony. Well, the reason I even said that is, going back to his thing about, he said wusses. He said men today are wusses. And he's not wrong. Because how many, have Jew or non-Jew? Oh, son of a bitch. When faced with hardships, do I behave like a king or queen? Walk my head up, walking proudly with confident in my God-given strengths, or do I cower and shrivel up in fear? Well, knowing myself like I do, I mean, the humble thing would be to say, I don't know. What's the humble response to that? The humble response to that would not be to shy away from my greatness that you bestowed upon me. It's more humble to, not to boast or to brag, but to own it. Yeah, I'm great, and I know it because God wants me to know that I'm great. He showed me how great I am. So maybe my greatness will rub off on you. Maybe by seeing me own my greatness, that'll make you, inspire you to own your greatness. Yeah? Being humble, the misconception about being humble is that we have to like, shh. You don't want to make people feel bad. You don't want to be a braggart. No one's saying to brag. There's no reason to brag. I mean, bragging, I think, is completely different. It has to have that negative intention to it. Well, I want everyone to see how great I am. No, I know I'm great. I don't give a shit if you see how great I am. It doesn't matter. If I wanted you to see me as something, then I would portray and put on a different kind of mask. I would actually put more effort into doctoring and editing these videos up so that you don't see me cursing or smoking or saying the wrong thing or stumbling on my words or getting stuck trying to figure out what it is I want to say. You see like cuts, just like you see in everyone else's videos. But I'm not concerned with the fear of what you think. If you're watching this, there's no fear. I mean, there is and there isn't, but you're telling me don't worry about it. You have to have a little bit of fear. Or do you? Or do I? Why? That's the ultimate goal, right? To have no fear. Just fear you. Anything that I would be afraid of, fear you more than anything else that I would be afraid of. But in order to know what I'm afraid of, I have to first call it out. First, I would have to call it out and give you an opportunity to show me why that fear is childish. Why I should fear you more than I fear that thing. It's kind of like he said to Ezekiel, you go out there and crush them with your words, or I'm gonna crush you in front of them. What are you thinking about? I'm thinking about how I don't feel like walking back. I'm thinking about how long this is taking. It's only an hour and 45 minutes. I thought we would be much further along. Why don't you get into some of the holding your head up high during hardships? Why don't you get into some of that? Like what though? I mean, we've already established that every single thing, every hardship that I went through was you putting me where I needed to be so that I can get a thing done. Okay, okay. Endurance. So I've been doing this for 7 years. And a couple extra months, but if we dial back the clock to May 11th, today's May 11th. So we dial back the clock to May 11th, 2025. So we dial back the clock 7 years to May 11th, 2018. My wife left me 3 days ago. And she's never coming back. I'm only gonna see her a couple more times, and then the last time I'm gonna see her is on September 6th. My son left with her. I'm only gonna see him a couple more times over the course of the summer, and the last time I'm gonna see him is gonna be on September 6th. So, despite the fact that I lost my son and my wife, I've had to maintain this vision and go, I cannot let anything stop me. I cannot allow myself to be pulled away to the left or the right. I just have to keep on going, because as long as I keep on going, everything works out exactly the way that it needs to go out. Although my life is not showing me that. Everything I'm seeing is dictating to me the opposite. If you keep going, things are only going to get worse for you. And from a perspective, things did continue to get worse for me, because about a week and a half after the last time I saw my wife and my son, they're not dead, I just haven't seen them. They choose not to be a part of my life. Which is for the best. Because everything that's happened over the past 7 years, it's not conducive to a functioning relationship with my child and my son and his mother. Because of the life they live and the life I live, the way I see things, the way that they see things, there's headbutting. And so it's better for me just to accept, hey, when she said they moved on, trust her. That was a message given to me a long time ago. On May 4th, 2018, I got my tarot cards read for the first time. And because I wanted to see what it was like. And the reader told me, she said, trust your wife. Trust your wife. So, although we stopped being married in April of 2019, over the course of this next 7 years, right? We're flashback. I'm talking from the perspective of 2018. So over the course of these next 7 years, every time I do talk to her, it's going to be her reminding me how they moved on, how he's choosing not to see me, how they have a whole new life without me. And I have to trust that is the case. I can't force anyone to do things that they don't want to do. Hey, you don't want to talk to me, you don't want to be part of my life, that's fine. I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing then. And it's not that doesn't weigh on me, because to be perfectly honest, I didn't know I was getting married until after I was divorced. I didn't know I was getting divorced until after I was divorced. About 5 hours after I was divorced is when I found out that I was divorced. There was still that little speck of hope in me that we were going to work it out, but that's been replaced. I got remarried to God. And God tells me that he's placing that spark into my new wife. for whom I will have more children with, just like Job. And that's another thing, is my life is reminiscent, knowing it the way that I know it, as intimately as I know it. God gave me a first-hand look at the Job experience. The Job experience is, well, I mean, first you have to read, you gotta read the book of Job. Don't believe everything you see on the internet about the book of Job. The book of Job, right? The book of Job has nothing to do with keeping faith with God, staying true to God. The book of Job is about staying true to yourself, despite everyone around you telling you that you're a piece of shit, that you got what you deserved, that you're no good. That's what the book of Job is about. Anyone who says that the book of Job is Job staying true to God better get their asses over and read the fucking book of Job, because that's not what it says. I know this because I actually took the time. I read it twice. All 41 chapters. For 38 of 41 chapters, Job is being gaslit by 4 wise men. And they are bombarding him and telling him how much of a piece of garbage, how big of a sinner he is, how everything he's experiencing is his own fault. You brought this on yourself. But Job stands up for himself and says, no, that's not who I am. Even goes so far, I wish somebody was writing my life down so that you could see exactly what I was doing, because I didn't do any of those things. God is mistreating me. He says that more than once. God is mistreating me. In me. Man, got my socks all dirty. But so despite all those hardships that I had to face, and trust me, they were hardships, because about 2 months after the last time I saw, well, like I said, about a week and a half after the last time I saw my wife and my son, I had to get away from everything because of all the stress I was feeling and the uncertainty about everything. Plus, I was having troubles trying to discern reality, because at that point, I had 2 very distinct realities playing in my head. There was the one that I was living with other people, and then there was the reality I was living when I was by myself. And the reality I was living when I was by myself was full of magical, mystical shit going on. The reality that other people were trying to pull me back into was this, that's not who I am. I don't understand where you're getting this from. That's not me. You want me to say that I'm that, but that's not me. I don't know. So I just followed the one that was in my head, the reality that my intuition was guiding me down. That was the one I trusted the most. Just trust your intuition, trust the voice in your head, and see how everything works out. So that's what we ended up doing. And it was the greatest decision of my life, because it eventually brought me to this point right now. If I did anything else, I don't know what would happen. Don't even worry about it. You can't change the past. The past isn't meant to be changed. It's already set in stone. So it's not like, well, what if this? What if that? It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't. If it mattered, then it would have happened that way. But what if? There is no what ifs. There is no what ifs. That's the point. There is no what ifs. If you want to talk about what ifs, go write a book about it. I don't know. What if things didn't go that way? I don't know. What if you were wrong? But I wasn't. That's the point. I'm not wrong. I was right. That's what's important. Let's not worry about what if and worry about what happened. How the fuck did all this happen? It happened because of you. Yeah, but nobody else can see it. Nobody else is hearing God. Okay. Same shit was happening with Moses. When God and Moses were fucking having their tea time, in the tent of meeting, nobody else was able to hear God except for Moses. Everybody else just had to trust him. Just trust me. How the hell would I be able to carry on a lie for this long and nobody find out about it? 7 years later, eventually, my Lord tells me, eventually someone's going to say, I don't think he's 100% lying. I think he might be kind of telling the truth. Oh, is it just because I don't have any money? Is it because my bank account has $1 in it? Like, is that the problem? Like, do I need a specific threshold of fucking dollars and cents in my bank before people go, holy shit, this dude's talking to God? Not only is this guy talking to God, but God's talking back to him. How about that? How about me and God talk back and forth all fucking day long? Right? People say it's not a problem until you start talking back, but how is that a problem? I don't know, how's that a problem? He's telling me to ask everybody else. It's not a problem that you talk to the voices in your head. It's a problem when the voices start talking back to you. How is that a problem? Especially when they give you the best advice. And give you the best ideas too. This is 2 hours. Let's start walking. Because I want to get back to doing stuff. Like what? Well, I gotta upload this. What happened? What happened? I don't feel like walking, my lord. Stop being a pussy, just do it. Alright. So what did we cover? We covered, I finished chapter 47 of Rabbi Zalman's Tanya. That was fun. Oh, I'm an inheritor of Torah. I learned that today. Which is going back, and I gotta set these motherfuckers straight. Stop saying the Old Testament when it comes to me. Stop saying it. Stop. Torah. Torah. I just got a thing from that movie. Remember that movie, The Great White Hype? With Damon Williams, the guys from In Living Color. It was that boxing movie. And The Great White Hype, he was the white boxer, and everybody thought he was Irish, but he wasn't Irish. But they kept on introducing him as Irish, and eventually he's like, I'm not Irish. I'm not Irish. Not the Old Testament. I don't study the Old Testament. I study Torah. What's the difference? It's huge. Technically, the Torah is not the books. It's what's in the books. The books of Moses contain Torah. The Tanakh contains Torah. Technically, we could say the Old Testament contains Torah as well. Technically. Although I don't believe so. Why? Because Torah is exclusive to Jews. That's racist. It is, but it's true. And it's in the Torah. It says it. It literally says it. That's why Jews say the Torah is our inheritance. It's our inheritance to God. Nobody is obligated to anything in Torah except for Jews. Jews don't have a choice. Yeah, but you didn't start studying until you were 40. I know. There's actually a rule in Torah about why that happened. I got all the answers because I study the goddamn, because I study it. I study it, I live it. I do it. I'm doing it now. You can't even tell that I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. Technically, every Jew does Torah differently, but... Well, they were like, don't think of the religion of Judaism as Judaism. The religion of Judaism is Torah. Alright. I thought the Jew religion. No, don't think. Don't think too much. You think too much and then you because you don't know. It's like Yoda said, forget everything that you think you know. You don't know nothing. Just say it, I don't know nothing. I don't know shit. Thought I knew something, but I don't. I've been there, where I thought I knew something, but then I find out, I don't know. I have no idea. Thought it did. It's okay to be wrong. Like that's a big thing. If you're watching this, just do it with me. Just do it with me. Just repeat after me. I'm wrong. But talk to yourself. Say it to yourself. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. God, I'm wrong. Oh Lord, I'm fucking wrong. I know. You're always right. I'm always wrong. You're more right than me. You are more right than me. I am more wrong than you. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. How many fucking times do you need me to say it? Fuck. I know I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm so wrong that I'm wrong about being wrong. How about that? Wouldn't that make you right? Not necessarily. Well, I'm not wrong about everything. Well, what am I not wrong about? I'm not wrong about you. And I'm wrong about you, but I'm not wrong about you. I'm wrong about what I think I know about you, but I'm not wrong in the sense that there's a you for me to point my finger at. Not necessarily that you're there, because I can point my finger in any direction, and I'm pointing at you. Fuck. What do you want to do for lunch? Can we eat something today? Not that we didn't eat yesterday. I know, I ate yesterday. What did we have yesterday? We had pancakes and eggs. Those were really good. I started a sex joke. What was the sex joke? I know what you want to eat. That's true. It's true. I haven't eaten one of those in a long time. And it's not against Tor either. I forget the rabbi's name, but he said if you're going to eat one of those, you have to do it with scrupulous intent. I love that line. Why? Because I think about all the times I have, and I think about how I do put scrupulous intention in that act. Thank you, Hashem. Hi again. Move it. Well, I was going that way, but... Alright, I can't go that way. Alright, just go that way. She's walking really fast. I just don't feel like talking to anybody right now. But where are we going? We're going home. I know, but what are we trying to? We got about like maybe 20 minutes. What's left on this? Probably got like a good half hour left. Oh my God, what time is it? Oh, fuck. It's almost 2 o'clock. Go to this goddamn thing. Hashem, I don't want to go. But you asked your mother, you asked for the perfect Mother's Day gift, so now you get to go to church for her. Besides, you never know who you're going to meet there. I already know who I'm going to meet there. I'm going to see her there. I'm going to see a couple of the other people there. I might see Father Anthony there. Oh, Father Anthony, that coffee date of ours, the topic of conversation is going to be what you said in your homily about the wussification of men, the pussification of men, and how they can learn how to be a man from Rabbi Jesus or Rabbi Derek. Oh, yeah, that's the other. I don't know if anyone's going to get that. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so my life is proof of what Jesus said to the rich man. The rich Jew, in one of the books of the New Testament, a rich Jew comes to Jesus and he asks him about how to get into the kingdom of heaven. And Rabbi Jesus tells him, well, you gotta sell your house, sell all your stuff, and then give all your money away. Yeah. That's pretty much it. And then when all the bad shit starts happening to you, once your life starts falling apart afterwards, basically once your life starts falling apart, just let your life fall apart. That's it. Stop trying to hold. And that, I think that's probably the bigger message is, what does that mean to sell your house and sell all your things and give all the money away? Stop trying to hold things together. Stop trying to be in control. Just let everything fall apart. Because it's all falling apart for a reason. It's falling apart for a really good reason, but you're gonna have to sit through some bullshit. And you have to take responsibility and take ownership. You're gonna have to feel like shit. You have to feel like shit for all the things that you actually did, but you want to pretend like you didn't do them. Well, you know what? I did this, but I'm gonna just live my life like this. This way I can make up for it. No, you gotta own it still. Not only did I do it, but I had a smile on my face while I was doing it. I'm glad I did it. Like everything that you regret and that you wish you could have done differently, you have to love it. You have to be, thank God I did that. Thank you, Hashem. Or if you want to thank Jesus, Rabbi Jesus, you can do that too. Like the rest of the Jewish congregation, we don't necessarily put a man above us. The Holy Spirit, the Holy Spirit's within. The Holy Spirit's what connects us to God. In Jew talk, in Jew language, we call it Shekinah. That's the Holy Spirit. That's the divine soul. How I understand it, I don't know. I don't know nothing about. I don't know about all that stuff. Do you ever think to go to Catholic school? No, I don't have any reason to go there, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if I gotta go to like some kind of school, seminary, right? Is that what it's called? I'm not converting to any religion. That's the thing. And when it comes to stuff like this, I should be teaching, not being some student learning to memorize the script that the church wants its employees to be reading. I don't like a script. Eh. If I could be like a Catholic rabbi, I mean, that would be fucking cool. But we need you. No, you don't need me. You need more Jesus. Oh, shit, Hashem. What? What did you say? Well, this is what I was talking about. So, a few weeks back, the reason I even know that lady, and the one that I gave the container of pasta to, the night, about a week prior, well, no, 2 nights prior, I was watching a clip of an interview with that guy who plays Jesus on that show, The Chosen. And when I was watching him give the interview, I got triggered. A couple things were triggering me. First, I'm watching this guy, like everyone's like, oh my God, you play Jesus. Yeah, you know, but Jesus is my predecessor. I'm doing his job. This guy just plays him on TV. I fucking do it for real life. And nobody wants to talk to me. My hair's not nice enough. Guy does have great hair, I'll give him that. My hair's all fucked up. My hair needs like a lot of TLC. My lord, my hair needs... I said, I know you love it. Come on, this fucking guy. I don't like talking when there's people around. Because I can't get all fucking dramatic and theatrical. But it was more than that. It wasn't just that guy. Of course, I'm jealous of the fame and the money and the status. Of course, I'm jealous. But more so towards Rabbi Jesus, have I always been jealous? Because I don't like the idea of someone being more special than me. And I think that goes for all my Jewish brothers and sisters. It's like, okay, all right, yeah. We can do everything that he can do. We do it all day, every day. Rabbi Jesus is literally just, he's illustrating a day in the life of a Jew. That's what it's like to be a Jew. Exactly what he's doing. Ain't nothing special. He happened to be the one who got the spotlight put on him. But that's because he put the spotlight on himself. You had him put the spotlight on himself. Which we know from the beginning of Matthew, where Rabbi Jesus references the reader to stop what they're doing, stop here, and go back and read Jonah. Because it's in Jonah that we find out that some of us don't get the luxury of free will. Some of us just have to just do what we're told. It's part of the Jewish experience. Not all Jews have as much free will as everybody else. Which was something that Rabbi Solomon said in chapter 47 that I thought was interesting. Is that the connectivity to God is predicated on choice, personal choice. But now, if we go back to Derek Hashem, which was written by Rabbi Moses Lozado, where he gets more in depth into that and says that you don't force anyone to follow you. You let us go on our own way. You let us fall on our ass until we have no choice. Until we have nowhere left, until we back ourselves into a fucking corner and we finally have to go, please God help me, please God help me, please God help me, please. And then you say, I've been waiting for you, my son. Welcome home. So, like I said, I got triggered that night. And I went out for a cigarette and I was saying, I invoked Rabbi Jesus and I said, yo, man, like, what is it that you can do for me that Hashem can't do for me? And then I invoked you and I said, Hashem, what can Rabbi Jesus do for me that you can't do for me? And the following day, I woke up and there was a text message from my mother telling me that her church, they needed volunteers for this pasta dinner. They needed somebody to help stir sauce. And hey, all right, my prayer's been answered. So as I was writing about this experience, I realized, and I think even the next day, right? I think the next day I got a little, I calmed down and I recognized, like, I'm being a little selfish. Like, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? What can I do for you? Rabbi Jesus, what can I do for you? How can I help you? My Lord, what can I do for Rabbi Jesus? And then the opportunity came to actually volunteer my time to serve you by working in the kitchen on the day of the pasta dinner, which was really good, by the way. It was delicious. And over the next week, my mother, the people I was working with, the other volunteers, my mother came to come pick me up because I don't drive. My mother came to pick me up and everybody got to meet my mother. The priest got to talk to my mother. So it was nice for her because now she started making some friends there. And her husband, my stepfather, and my brother, they're not church-going folk. So being that I am the way that I am, and mind you, I did make sure everyone knows that I'm a Jew. Just so there's no confusion. I don't want there to be confusion. I know it's one of those like, well, what are you saying, that you're better than us? No, I'm not saying I'm better than you. I'm saying I'm a Jew. That's it. Where you worship him, where you worship Jesus, I worship God. But Jesus is God. Not in my eyes. Jesus is like me. Rabbi Jesus and I, we come from the same cloth. We're cut from the same cloth. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't, and my mother asked me this. She's like, why, what's the problem with Jesus? There is no problem with Jesus. There's no problem with Jesus. The issue is, I'm a Jew. It's in my Bible. It's in Torah. You cannot put anyone between the Jew and God. It has to be the Jew and then God. Only God's above. That's it. That's why Jews don't convert to Christianity. Well, some do. Those aren't Jews. They weren't cut out to be Jews. What about Torah observant Christians? I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm just talking about myself. All right, how about this? Let's stop talking about other people, because I ain't my business what other people do. Did you know I also study the Quran? Oh, you're a Muslim? No, I'm not a fucking Muslim. I'm a Jew who studies Torah, who studies the Gospels, who studies Quran. Nobody owns me. The only one that owns me is God. That's it. That's fucking it. Now, if the Church of Jesus Christ needs my help, I can help, because Jesus is a servant of the same God whom I serve. That makes sense. I feel like we're making some decent ground here. I don't understand the whole Malkuth of Netzach. I do though, because this is what I've been working on for years. 7 years ago, like once I start writing. So we have to wait it's only May 7th or May 11th. I mean, once we get to June 3rd, then we can get into the really good shit. Why? What's on June 3rd? That's when my slave contract is up. Slave contract? Yeah, were you paying attention? We're talking about slave laws. Voluntary slave rights? Voluntary slave laws? The slave is a slave for 6 years, then at the end of the 6th year, they get the option, you can go free, or you can continue your tenure as a slave, but it's a life sentence. Yeah, that's what June 3rd is. June 3rd is the day that I started writing and documenting my life on paper. So the idea is for the next, which is perfect because June 3rd, the first half of June 3rd is the second day of Shabbat. Today is day 7 of week 4 of the count of Omer, which is in the Bible known as the Festival of Weeks. 7 weeks. 7 weeks in one day. So the 7 weeks is the count of Omer. The one day is Shabbat. But somehow, someone decided that we're going to make Shabbat 2 days long. So technically it's not 2 days long, it's only 1 day long, but it's all right, right. So the 7 weeks of the count of Omer represent the journey from once we cross the Red Sea, once we cross the Sea of Reeds, starting from that point, it's 50 days, or it's 50 days until the giving of the 10 Commandments. The first 10 Commandments. Of which there are 613 that are spelled out. There's a shit ton more. There's hidden ones too. It's like an Easter egg hunt in Torah. Lots of laws, lots of rules, a lot of protocols, a lot of procedure. All of it. The most overt of which is encapsulated within the 613 commandments. 248 positive, 365 negative. Positive you want to do, negative you don't want to do. Although, from what we know about our good Lord, we do want to do the negative ones because the negative ones will actually teach us how to recognize the positive aspects of the negative commandments. Negative doesn't necessarily mean bad, it just means it's like a positive negative. Like a car battery. The idea is you don't want to do the negative ones, but you don't know why. It's kind of like I said, in the negative there is concealed positive, but you can't see it unless you do it. So the idea is that you do the negative commandments so that you can confess to God that you transgressed the law, and God can show you why He was the one who put you in the position to do that thing that you technically shouldn't have done, but you did it anyway. But that's why He wants you to come back to Him and explain to Him that you did it, why you did it, how you love to do it, and then He'll show you how there was an actual positive component to that. It's like, think of it like the Jedi and the Sith, right? So the Jedi don't like to fuck with anything, any Sith teachings. So the positive commandments are the Jedi, are like the Jedi teachings. The negative commandments are like the Sith teachings. So you can't extract negative aspects out of the positive commandments, just like you can extract positive aspects out of the negative commandments. But those 613, which include the first 10 commandments, those are just laying the foundation. There's a lot more going on to Torah, because Torah, like I said, Torah isn't the books. Torah is what lives within the books. So a good analogy would be the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark of the Pact, which serves as a container for the divine presence, which is the Shekinah, the divine soul. The books of Moses are the Ark. Torah is what's contained within the books. It's the teachings. Or, as Rabbi Zalman puts it, and I love this, Torah is the manifestation of God's will and wisdom that is documented in the books. So don't necessarily pay attention to the stories. Look at why it's happening. You try to put yourself in the position of those people so that you can recognize your own experiences through the experiences of those who are recorded in the books. Oh. I feel like we talked about this about that's the kind of the point, right? Who's that lady? I know I want to walk slow because she's gonna wave. Well, this is a different lady. What do we got on this? 33. High deck. All right, turn green, I feel it. Turn green before I get up there. Turn green before I get up there. Turn green before I get up there. Yeah. Perfect. So and even still, like a lot of the old commandments, it's not necessarily that they have to be carried out to the letter as literal things. And this is what I was getting at earlier when we were talking about how Rabbi Jesus wasn't actually fulfilling the Torah, as in he wasn't nullifying it. He was fulfilling his part. Everyone has a part to play. He was just fulfilling his part. His means of fulfilling Torah isn't necessarily the same as my way of fulfilling Torah. You know what I mean? Plus, he laid the foundation for someone to pick up where he left off, which is what I'm doing. Right? Is that not the right way to put it? Right. Like walking on water. Okay, you want me to walk on water? You want me to turn water into wine? So, walking on water, what we're doing, we're rising above. So, water represents emotions. Do you know that? We're not talking about wet water. We're talking about the concept of water, the mystical, spiritual correspondence of what water represents. Represents emotions, emotional depth, the subconscious. So when Jesus is walking on water, I'm not saying he didn't do it literally. I'm saying from an allegorical perspective, from a laying it down in a comprehensible way. Because not everybody's meant to see it the same way. All right, let's imagine that for a minute. That everyone is allowed to see it in a different way, and nobody's right and nobody's wrong. It just is. Your way is your way, my way is my way, his way is his way, their way is their way. I'm not saying nobody's fucking wrong. That's not what you were saying earlier. I know that, but this is what I'm saying now. Don't worry about what I was saying then. Worry about what I'm saying now. Despite all of the attacks against his person, spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, even physically, Jesus rose above all that and was able to walk on water as if it were dry land. Because he wasn't letting nothing bother him. He had such emotional control that no one can bring him down. Do you understand? That's not how it is. I don't give a fuck. I told you don't have to see it my way. This is how God shows it to me. Your pastor, your priest may tell you a different way, but God is my rabbi. God is the master that I follow. Okay? And God knows better than I do. And God knows better than your pastor. When Paul gets up out of the boat and tries to walk to Jesus, but he starts to fall, he wasn't there yet. He hadn't achieved the same degree of self-mastery that Rabbi Jesus had, which is why he was getting there. He was almost there, but he wasn't there. That's walking on water. And at the same time, we just fulfilled two mitzvahs at one time. I just converted water into wine by giving you a new explanation on an old teaching, and at the same time performed my own rendition of water walking. Because even though you tried to tell me I was wrong, I didn't allow you to bring me down to your level. I rose above it. The mitzvahs of the New Testament. I actually like that. The mitzvahs of the New Testament. So, going back to what we were saying, it's not necessarily that he nullified the old, because they're not necessarily meant to be followed literally. There's an allegorical way of looking at things, and there's a literal way of looking at things. If we study the Quran, it spells that out very clear. It says there's the literal translation and there's the allegorical translation. Now, if we go back to what we were learning with Aristotle, he said that we can either assume that something is true or not true, or or we have to comprehend, or we have to find the comprehension of the meaning, learn how to comprehend the meaning of what's being taught, or both. We have to combine both methods. And this is one of those situations where combining both methods is required, is essential. So what I like to do is, you look at the Old Testament as literal, you look at the New Testament as metaphorical, allegorical. Then, once we get to, or the other way around, I mean, it doesn't really matter. Look at the one as literal. Yeah, well, if you can see the one as literal, then it helps to see the other one as literal. Because you can see the Old Testament as literal, then it makes seeing the New Testament as literal easier, because it makes sense with relation to how you do things. But at the same time, the New Testament teaches us to see things from a metaphorical and allegorical perspective, so that we can go back to the Old Testament